Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, what you don't realise is this is our third or fourth take of attempting this match review for you. We have fortunately witnessed West Ham defeat Newport, the giant killers of League 2, Newport County 2-0, and West Ham are now through to the third round of the Carabao Cup, which is good news. Of course, I am Anton. I'm joined by my dad, and this is officially a family affair match review. Richard, introduce yourself and who you're with, please.
Yeah, well, most people should know me from the channel by now. I'm Rich, and I'm here with my old man, Greg.
Come on, Irons.
Yeah. It's great to have him on. He's making his debut tonight. Yeah.
Brilliant, excellent. Thanks for joining us, Greg, and Dad, of course. So we're here to talk about the Newport game in particular. So let's just do a quick run through of the side, if that's okay, guys. I know you've got the kind of team lineup there, Richard.
Yeah, so we had Roberto in goal, obviously coming in for Fabianski. We had Zaba at right back, also captaining the side, which was nice to see. We had Diop and Balbuena as our centre backs, Cresswell at left back.
And
that was our back four.
You know, historically, or people have been saying our biggest problem is the defence. Tonight, Diop in particular didn't have the greatest of first halves. What is it about our defence just now, or what was it about Newport? Do you think it was we didn't respect the opposition, Greg?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. I think for the first 15 minutes, Newport were up to it. Their little stadium holds 6,000 people. Before the game, the fans were saying how a match like this lifts the whole town, not just the football team, it's the whole town. So they were really in for it. Then you got poor old Diop with a new partner in defence, a new goalkeeper, a new holding midfielder, kind of like felt a little bit on his own, almost scored an own goal. So he struggled a little bit this season, and this wasn't a great game, but he'll come through it now saying, we didn't concede, I had a bad game, but we'll come through okay.
I think you've kind of been giving him a bit of a harsh time, haven't you, Richard, about Diop and thinking what has gone wrong this season in particular. What's your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, perhaps I have been a bit harsh, I must be honest. It's maybe because he had such a decent season last season. I think I have to keep in mind his age. He's still got so much to learn, so I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt. And yeah, he hasn't had the greatest start this season, but I have every faith that he'll come right, provided that he has a stable partner next to him. Because I mean, this chopping and changing can't be easy for him to deal with every single week.
One of the biggest things I've always kind of canvassed and said is consistency with strengthened squad depth is a big important thing, especially for Premier League teams. But I just don't think West Ham have got that greatest squad depth. Therefore, when it comes to kind of chopping and changing the defence, which is an area of my concern for West Ham just now, we don't need to be doing that so much. So a player like Diop, who looked like the finished article last season, he's young, he's still got a lot to learn. He needs that strong partnership, or that strong, like what you said, Greg, a strong goalkeeper behind him, Fabianski shouting, screaming at him. And feeling confident that the player that's beside him is going to do a job. Now, I'm not trying to make excuses for a player like Diop, but you don't come across players like Diop and then get potential links of £65 million if the player's not a good guy and got a talent. So for me, we do have a talent there, and we just need to nurture that talent properly and give him the proper tools to work with and develop as a player individually. What's your thoughts on that kind of defensive?
Yeah, well, I was going to focus. I thought, what did you think of Cresswell tonight? I like the way he played. I thought he figured quite well. I felt in the game today.
Yeah.
He was getting down and getting the crosses over. And he seemed to be in a very good attacking defensive role on that side, on the left side.
Sure. Yeah, we saw a different side to Cresswell today that we haven't really seen towards the end of last season and even at the beginning of this season. But there were times when Anderson played through a fantastic through ball to him, and he got him behind and was whipping him balls. I mean, the first chance when Fornals hit the post, that was Cresswell getting him behind. So you make a good point, Jim. I think he did well going forward today. Defensively, obviously, the first half, I don't think any of our defenders had the greatest game. But yeah, we've kept a clean sheet. So that's
I mean, in the game, I know you mentioned, can you go through the midfielders, Richard?
Yeah, so we had Snoddy, Wilshere, and Sanchez. We had a 3. And then obviously Anderson and Antonio on the flanks.
So, unfortunately, Antonio picked up what looks like a bad injury. It looks like possibly a torn hamstring. He went down kind of in a lot of pain. How much of an impact is that going to be for us, Greg, in particular, considering the impact he made coming off the bench the last few games?
Yeah, I was really worried because I just thought we needed someone like Antonio. When you're playing leagues from a team from the lower leagues, they're going to put the foot in and they're going to be a little bit hustle and bustle. And I just thought he was going to be the ideal person to help us to get there. And to be honest, when Anderson came on, I thought he did quite well. He tracked back. He did all sorts of things like that. So I think he did quite nicely. But I think we will miss Antonio. It just depends how long he's out
like
for.
You said, you love Anderson. I mean, I love Anderson as well. I mean, what's your kind of thoughts on how he played? I mean, I know it's.
I was the same as you there because I like the idea of the way Antonio can run at somebody, and playing against Newport, not too disrespectful for Newport, but the way they play, he could handle anything that Newport would put at him. However, when Anderson came on, I was pleasantly surprised at how he played. Against that opposition, I thought he played really well.
I think a lot of teams or players of that level possibly. I'm not saying he disrespects the lower leagues, but they kind of have this thought that we can, it's the Premier League and these minnows who have got 6,000 people in their stadium will go away and just wipe the floor clear. But the thing we've got is Anderson's been with us for a year, so he's seen what the league is about and what England's about and the cup competitions are about. He's got a good understanding of it, so he knows he needs to come in and do a job. And tonight, he, for my opinion, he did. But I mean, let's not take credit away. Over to you guys regarding Newport County. I mean, if you look at them in the first half from an outsider's point of view, they were, in my opinion, they looked the better team. They actually looked like the fitter team. They looked like the fitter team.
They did.
What's your kind of?
Massive credit to Newport. I think they gave us a huge run for our money, especially in the first half. I think they were unlucky not to be 2 goals up.
2 goals up.
I mean, they had one chance from point blank range that Roberto managed to save with his foot. I mean, that could have been a goal any day of the week. So I think we got a bit lucky, I must be honest. And respect to Newport and their fans. I mean, they put up a good fight today.
A bit of an Irish contingent in the Newport team. There's quite a few Irish players, and they were causing havoc, and they were playing well. And they played a bit of keep ball in the first half in particular, and they were kind of making West Ham run ragged a little bit. And at one point, I was a bit like, someone put in our comments saying, why is it when we play teams like Newport or AFC Wimbledon, they just make us look like we don't even look like a Premier League team. Like we don't even look like we're worried. But the old West Ham again could have, become naive in a game like today and probably had a big banana skin slip up against a team like Newport. But Jack Wilshere, let's talk about the man. He missed the last game. What's your kind of thoughts on Jack Wilshere?
I thought Wilshere was just fantastic tonight. He's back to the old player that we know that he can be. I thought he was great. Getting through an injury season that he's had to get through and to come out and play like that tonight. Again, as you said, Greg, again, no disrespect to Newport, but they came out. They really came out for it. And you worry when a player like Wilshere, is he going to get injured or something again in a game like that? But he played brilliantly.
100%.
In actual fact, it would probably put. Oh, sorry, Greg, go.
And in fact, in fact, he turned the game for us because it was a bit of a nervy performance until that goal. And if you look at the build-up, he played the ball in, the defender stood and he made a mistake, and then Wilshere was very, very quick to go and take the ball again. A lot of the old players would have stood and said, okay, bad ball or whatever. He was in there so quickly, took the ball off the defender. A great finish. He had quite a hard finish as well. Got goalkeeper to beat, but he had to put in the corner. So it wasn't just his overall performance. I just think we need people in those spur of the moment situations who can show their class, and it was so nice to see him do that today.
It's definitely nice to have that quality player in there. Someone that, apart from his injuries, we probably would not have seen in a Claret Brew top. Someone like Jack Wilshere, because if he was injury free, he probably would still be playing in the top 6 of England or in Europe. So if we can keep him, fit,
and he didn't shirk any tackle at all. I mean, as you said, he was not only playing, he was going back again to fetch the ball, and that time when he ran through and he just continued his run right the way through. I thought that was brilliant, coming from midfield and then going to attack like that. That was great.
For anyone that's watching this video, and you're going to make a comment probably saying, "Oh, but we need to remember it's against League 2 opposition." Well, what you need to remember is that. Greg, you made a valid point when we were talking before that Newport took Man City to the wire. they took a replay back to Tottenham. They beat Leicester. They beat Middlesbrough. You know, these are the giant killers over the last year. They're unbeaten in their league, albeit they're 2 or 3 leagues below us. So they gave us a great test tonight. Like, in actual fact, tonight's game was probably the best test West Ham have had in terms of, if you relate that to, like, say, pre-season, for example, like, it was definitely above that standard. It was a competitive game. It meant a lot. We had to get through to the next round. And coming up against someone like Newport was a very, very good test for a team like West Ham. Carlos Sanchez is in for a lot of stick this season, and he's been in a lot of stick. Let's not forget one thing: the man suffered a really, really, really bad injury, and a lot of people seem to forget that. Seem to give more favours to players like Yarmolenko because he's a talented player, but Sanchez did have a career-threatening injury. He's come back. Greg, what did you think of Carlos Sanchez tonight?
I haven't been a big fan of his over the time he's been at the club, but I must say today he put in, I thought, a really good shift. He was always, what I like about him is when he passes the ball, he doesn't hide. He passes the ball, then he runs into space again, and I really enjoyed that part of him. And again, like Jim was saying, he could have shirked a couple of challenges, but he was in there, he was in for the headers. So I think he's come through okay today. It just gives Pellegrini another option, which I think is great.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. He also hasn't been my favorite player for the last 2 seasons, but you have to respect the man. He's got over 60 caps for Colombia. He played for them in the World Cup. He's just come back from a really bad injury, and I think at times his body language sends the wrong message to the fans. In my opinion, I feel like that's just how he plays. He's that type of player. He's quite a composed, casual character. Sometimes it gets him in trouble, but hopefully in the future he can keep injury free. I don't think he'll have a massive role to play for us this season. He'll be a kind of player to come in and shore up our midfield when we 1-0 up, just to make sure we win the game. So can't fault him tonight. I think he put in a good shift.
But one thing I want to bring up is how important is Mark Noble to West Ham, Dad, first and foremost?
Mark Noble?
Mark Noble.
Oh yeah, massively important for us. But on saying that, when you see Wilshere coming in and doing what he did tonight, if he can replicate that and stay injury free, I think we've got another Mark Noble just coming through
with that
bit maybe a bit of flair.
What's your thoughts on that, Greg and Richard?
Yeah. Well, my thought, the whole thing about that back four, we actually made Ogbonna, I think, captain. I think Pellegrini made him captain a couple of games ago.
Yeah.
And that kind of worries me as well, because it's not so much. I thought Noble was getting too slow. I thought Noble was passing the ball sideways too much. So I was kind of like saying, no, maybe it's your time to go. But he's more than just the player on the pitch. He's actually the leader. And until we can find someone to really take that armband, he's going to be incredibly important. So that's my take on Mark Noble. Richard, I don't know how you feel.
Massive respect. We all thought, I can put my hands up, season or 2 ago, I thought he was done. But he just keeps putting in performances year after year, season after season. As my dad said, he's the best leader that we have. And for me, he's our club captain. There's no one else that can fill that void. And when he plays, we're a different side completely. We're more structured.
He brings calm. He brings a lot of calm to the West Ham side.
Yeah.
And he's talking the whole time. There are very few players out there. If you notice that West Ham side, not many people talk on the field, and Noble's always there. He's always talking. So that's something I enjoy about him.
There's a lot of people that say that, and you look at games like tonight, and you see why. I mean, Carlos Sanchez done really well, but you can see why a player like Noble can really add a lot of value to any team moving forward. Up front, Ajeti got a run out. That was the announcement that Pellegrini made that he was going to start him tonight. I'll be honest. I'm going to give my kind of two pence opinion here. At the start of the game, I actually thought he made really good runs. He had a couple of decent touches, and I thought, oh well, he's actually going to look quite decent. But then he went really, really quiet in the game. But was he getting the service? I don't know. Was he getting the service up front? I mean, did you hear much about him? To be honest,
not really. No, not a lot. But it's his first game, and it's gonna take time surely to settle in for him. Well, as I say, he got a couple of balls across, and he got his head to one of them, didn't he? But it just went over the bar.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think he's just got to settle in. I think he'll be good for us.
Yep. Greg and.
It's a tough game to come straight into. I mean, you play against a League 2 club that's their cup final for the season. And I mean, he was the lone striker playing against two pretty tall centre backs. He's not really the tallest man himself.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was quiet. I don't think he got the greatest service, if I'm honest. But yeah, it's a run out nonetheless, and he's won his first West Ham game. So
yeah. I think it's a big wake-up for me because I thought that he might be able to do something on his own up front, but I can see that he's just not going to be. We just haven't got the service. I think with Antonio and him going forward, he could have picked up the pieces, but he was kind of up there on his own, and that's not going to be the way he'll want to play. I don't think.
It looks like really the only striker that's suitable for that role is going to be Sebastian Haller, but bringing in a Jetty and having Chicharito, and God knows what's happening with Chicharito. 1 minute he's got the bug, the next minute he's hurt his toe, or he's hurt his thigh. I mean, is this an impending bid coming in from the MLS? I mean, for me, one of the biggest concerns is, again, consistency. He scored a goal, you'd want to see him in the next week to try and score another goal, but he's out injured, and whether that's a fabricated injury or whatever. What's your take on the kind of forward line Chicharito, Greg, Richard?
It's a strange one, this whole bug thing. He's missed a couple games, even towards the end of last season, where he just wasn't in the squad at all, and no one seemed to know why. So it is a really strange one. He scored for us against Brighton, so respect him for that. But I mean, Haler's our main man. He's going to be the guy we rely on to score 20 goals. Hernandez was never someone that we expected to score. Maybe when he first joined, I had a lot of high hopes for him. But after a couple of games, he wasn't going to be that type of player. He was going to try to be more of an impact player off the bench, or try get him behind. But he's not got the same presence that Haller offers us.
Greg, all in
totally
all,
agree.
I mean, we've came in tonight, we've done the job, we've won 2-0, we're through to the next round of the Carabao Cup. How important is tonight's victory, and how important is the League Cup to West Ham?
Well, for someone like you guys who haven't actually had a trophy since you've been alive, that is important. I think at least we know what a cup winners' cup looks like. And the World Cup, yeah. So incredibly important. It really, really is important. To be honest, we're talking about being a top 8 team in the league, so we have to be going for the cups to bring that spirit back again. Yeah. So incredibly important, I think.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we have to. We can't keep referring back to 40 years, and it'd be nice for them, Greg, both the boys here, to be able to talk about a cup win, wouldn't it?
It's never too late this season.
But do you know what?
Come on, boys.
It is really important for the club just to try and get some. We just need that bit of silverware. We need to take, or just, do you know what? Even take the cup competition serious. Yeah, you do look at sometimes the team selection. You think to yourself, "Oh, come on, West Ham, just try and go for it. Try and get this game done." I mean, you probably look throughout the league tonight or the cup competition tonight. See some of the teams. I've not looked at the scores or the results, and I bet you some of the teams have probably put out full strength sides. Now, I'm not saying I want West Ham to do that, because obviously I want to do well in the Premier League, but you just want a cup run. You just want a cup run. We've got the FA Cup, we've got the Carabao Cup. We're in the third round. We're off. We're off on a. It's also good for momentum for the side in particular. Taking away Man City from it. We're unbeaten in 3. We've won 2, drew 1. 4 points in the Premier League. Through to the third round.
Back-to-back away wins.
Back-to-back. And I think he's also managed to give a lot of people a good run. You've got Fornals who came and ran around, and he's getting used to the pace of the game. Like Anderson, it'll take him a season to get ready.
Yeah.
But people came through, and the Antonio injury was a really unfortunate one, because it would have been lovely to say 2-0 on the road into the next round. Everyone fit, no injuries would have been fantastic, but unfortunately it's not the case.
No, it's time for Yarmolenko really to step up and prove his fitness really and come into that position. But it's important. We're through to the third round. Let's see who we're going to get for the next round. It'll be an interesting one, and it'd be nice to get a home tie, I suppose.
Of course.
And we'll see what we do. Before we go, I'll start with you, Richard. Man of the match.
Oof, man of the match.
Sure. Interesting.
I haven't even thought about this. You put me on the spot, chat. Yeah, Roberto. Roberto. First half,
just for keeping
I thought he was top class, and I mean, people have given him a lot of stick, including myself. But I thought he was really, really good tonight. So yeah, for me it would be Roberto. Thanks for picking up there.
No, it's a pleasure. For me, I really like the way Anderson played when he came on. I just think normally he'd be jumping out of tackles. He was in for it tonight. He really was. It was almost like, I'm playing for West Ham. I'm not playing for myself. I'm playing for West Ham. So I know Jack Wilshere had a good game, but I think Anderson stepped up to the plate really well today.
Well, I'm going to go for Wilshere. Maybe that's an easy one for me, but I just saw everything that I like about that guy tonight. So I go for Wilshere.
Yeah, I'll probably agree with you. I think he I mean, all three of the players we've mentioned were definitely the best three players on the park for West Ham. But for me, it's just nice to see Wilshere dictate the game play, be tricky, be flair, find those penetrating passes through to the striker or the other wingers, etc. And he dictated the play in the midfield. So I like that. But I'm really excited to see what Anderson's capable of this season. Second season in the Premier League, he's settled in now, so I'm quite excited to see it. As you said, Richard, it's good to have a confident performance from our backup goalkeeper, especially now that Adrian has found his dream in first team football with Liverpool and doing really well for himself. So it's nice to know we've got a backup keeper we can hopefully trust. Not that I'm saying we didn't trust Adrian before, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, that rounds up our match review. If you have watched the live stream previously, we have deleted it, so apologies for the sound, but hopefully the sound's working now. Any last points you guys want to make before we go?
No, just let's roll on Norwich and hopefully get another 3 points and keep the momentum going.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be incredibly important. If you have a look at the beginning of last season with no points after all those games, I just think we do a Norwich now, and you're suddenly in the top half of the table right now. I think it's a great platform to springboard from.
Capable of scoring a lot of goals with their kind of forward line as well.
So
maybe it's the Pellegrini of we need to outscore what we can see. We'll see. We're going to have a preview coming up over the next couple of days. Richard's going to have an opposition review released over the next day or so. So keep your eyes on the channel. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you get the comments in below. Let us know your thoughts. Hit the thumbs up. And of course, thank you for joining us. I've been Anton. He's been my dad. And I'm just making sure Greg has been my dad who's in South Africa, and Richard's my brother all the way over there. Anyway, thanks for watching. Come on, you irons.
Come on, you irons. Hey.